Like I said, I'll be meeting her around 1, so I'll most likely be meeting her like around 2:30 on the street. Yeah, so that'll be the first thing we
up, fam? What's good? Oh, why did I hit this here? Huh. What's good? 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 Peace, 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 peace. Islam, 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 Islam. Taino, 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 Taino. What up? What up? What up? What up? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Kijon, yeah, Kijon, yeah, Kijon, yeah. All right. And for everyone who don't know what that means, that's sac passe. Everyone just knows sac passe, but they don't know the formal way of how to say Kijon yet. Alright? So, today, this is not going to be too long. We're going to get a good understanding about how the states were made. Bang. I'm kind of turned. So, let's just get right into it. We're not even going to hesitate. Alright, bet. So, organized, incorporated. Let me see how this is looking. I need to make this a little bit bigger. It seems. Hopefully that's big enough for everyone to see. Alright, and even so, you can see where my source is at. I'm on Wiki right now. So, you know what I'm saying? You can just Google this joint right here. Okay? You get an understanding. So pretty much we're gonna go from right here. Alright. Organized incorporated territories are territories of the United States that are both incorporated. What does incorporate mean? Incorporated. Now as you can see, incorporated means that it's been made into live. Right? But let's be more clear, because we want to be very clear about the words we're using, right? Right? So we're going to be very, very precise. You know what I'm saying? Because no one's saying that this is what I'm saying. Alright? This is what the law is saying. Okay? Really quick. Incorporate. To create a corporation, to confer a corporate franchise upon determinate persons, to declare that another document shall be taken as part of the document in which the declaration is made as much as if it were set out at length therein. So incorporate means to create a corporation. Alright? Bang bang. Real quick. So, organized incorporated territories are the territories of the United States that are both incorporated, in parentheses, part of the United States proper, and organized, having an organized government authorized by an organic act passed by the U.S. Congress, usually consisting of a territorial legislature, territorial governor, and a basic judicial system. So let's read right here what an organic act is, because this is the thing, authorizing these things, authorizing the creation of a state. An organic act in the United States law is an act of the United States Congress that establishes a territory of the United States or an agency to manage certain federal lands. In the absence, this is very important. That word right there is very important. You see that? In the absence. This is only needed in the absence of an organic law. A territory is classified as unorganized. So, meaning the absence of organic law, meaning the absence of a state constitution, your own state constitution, the absence of traditions, culture, and customs, you are classified as unorganized. You are not a body. You're like a body cut up in different pieces and sent across all parts of the globe, right? Don't that sound like the story of Asar and Aset? You see what I'm saying? And what did his Wiz have to do? She went all across the different worlds, what? To put the body back together. All right? Let's keep that in mind. Put the body back together. So let's continue reading. The first such act was the Northwest Ordinance, passed in 1787, a year later after the Peace Treaty of 1786 by the Congress of the Confederation under the Articles of Confederation. Okay? Predecessor of the United States Constitution. Remember, Articles of Confederation, they got that from who? The Iroquois Confederacy. Who were the Iroquois Confederacy? The grandchildren of the Lenape people. Who were the Lenape people? Moors. Real simple. Alright? If I'm saying anything that you don't agree with or you think is wrong, please, I'm always open to growth. Right? I don't got it all figured out. But I got what I got figured out at the time where I'm at, in the position of what I'm doing it. So, right? So the Northwest Ordinance, under the Articles of Confederation, right? The Northwest Ordinance created the Northwest Territory in the land west of Pennsylvania and northwest of the Ohio River, and set the pattern of development that was followed for all subsequent territories. The Northwest Territory covered more than 260,000 square miles and included all of the modern states of Ohio, Indiana. You see how they say modern, right? Not ancient, modern, meaning it's new. Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the northeastern part of Minnesota. So this is the Northwest Territory. Okay? This is the Northwest Territory. Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the northeastern part of Minnesota. Okay? Now, the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1801 incorporated Washington, D.C. and placed it under the exclusive control of the United States Congress. All right? And then they also made another version of the District of Columbia Organic Act in 1871. All right? Now, the Organic Act, remember the Organic Act being a law, a constitution that the people made for themselves to govern themselves, right? The Organic Act for the territory of New Mexico was part of the Compromise of 1850. Okay? Passed September 9th, 1850. Primarily concerned with slavery, the act organized New Mexico as a territory with boundaries including the areas now embraced in New Mexico, Arizona, and southern Colorado. All right? What is the Compromise? The Compromise of 1850. Okay? The Compromise of 1850 was a package of 5 separate bills passed by the United States Congress in September 1850, which diffused a 4-year political confrontation between slave and free states regarding the status of territories acquired during the Mexican-American War. The Compromise, drafted by Whig Senator Henry Clay of Kentucky and brokered by Clay and Democratic Senator Stephen Douglas of Illinois, reduced sectional conflict. Controversy arose over the fugitive slave provision. The compromise was greeted with relief, although each side disliked specific provisions. Texas surrendered its claim to New Mexico, as well as its claims north of the Missouri Compromise line. It retained the Texas Panhandle, and the federal government took over the state public's debt. All right. California was admitted as a free state with its current boundaries. The South prevented adoption of the Wilmot Proviso that would have outlawed slavery in new territories, and the new Utah Territory and New Mexico Territory were allowed under the principle of popular sovereignty to decide whether to allow slavery within their borders. In practice, these lands were generally ensuited to plantation agriculture, and their settlers were uninterested in slavery. The slave trade, but not slavery altogether, was banned in the District of Columbia. All right, so that's what that was. So now you see in here, if you get a look at this here, okay, so this right here is the Northwest Territory. See that right there? That's the Northwest Territory. All this coming from here, Pennsylvania, all here. Okay, that's the Northwest Territory. This is the Mexican cession. All right, this is the compromise. Now, if you pay attention, you realize, if you understand maps, what the compromise is included in. California, Arizona's in here, Utah's in here. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta be able to see how these states were made. But you guys can get into the compromise at your own time, all right? My aim isn't the compromise, it's the how these states were formed. So let's go. Now, areas now part of a U.S. state or D.C. Let's check it out. Now, let's look and see here. Bang, bang. Let's see here. Hold on. Now, let's start with Indiana. The territory of Indiana was an organized, incorporated territory of the United States. Now, when they say territory, they're talking about land. They're talking about dirt, earth, terra. That means earth. All right? So when they say organized, incorporated territory, they're talking about the land. Right? They're not talking about fictitious world. That existed from July 4th, 1800 until December 11th, 1816, when the remaining southern portion of the territory was admitted to the Union as the state of Indiana. Right? So this is how you understand when this was the organic, this is a country and this is the corporation. So this is Indiana, the country, the territory of Indiana, or Indiana territory, and then you have the state of Indiana. All right? You got the republic and you got the democracy. Or you got the private, right? Private foreign corporations. The Indiana Territory was created by an act of Congress and signed into law by President John Adams on May 7th, 1800. Effective on July 4th, it was the first new territory created from lands of the Northwest Territory. Okay? So Indiana was the first territory made from that. So meaning that that wasn't called, none of those places were called like Indiana, Missouri. Like that was just called the Northwest Territory. Period. That was the name for that area. You know what I'm saying? Once the colonization came, everything got divided. Demarcations came about. You see what I'm saying? So all that encompassed the Northwest Territory, which had been organized in 1787 by the Northwest Ordinance. Remember? A year after the Peace Treaty of 1786. The territory originally contained approximately 259,824 square miles of land, but twice decreased in size as it was further subdivided into new territories like Michigan Territory and Illinois Territory. So here we go. Indiana Territory was created, okay, in 1800. And then from Indiana Territory, it was divided into two more territories, Michigan Territory and Illinois Territory. So when you're thinking about Indiana, you cannot really say Indiana without including both Michigan and Illinois. So all of that is Indiana. That's crazy. That shows you how big Indiana is. So that means from, and then that also changes your, let me go off this right here. That also changes your perspective on like different states. Like, you know, I got some of my brothers who visited Indiana, who've domiciled in Indiana for a little bit, and from their experiences living there, you know, they've known it to be flatlands. It's really flat. You understand? But no, it's not that Indiana is flat. That portion of Indiana is flat. Now, if you take into consideration that Indiana also, that from Indiana, Michigan and Illinois was made, and when you say Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, Mecca. All right. So that tells you, and then there's tons of research Chicago and see all the ancient pyramids and stuff like that in Chicago. You see what's up. All that's part of Indiana. Michigan. So, how you view Michigan, that's part of Indiana. How you view Illinois, that's also another face of Indiana. So Indiana was so big that Indiana had room to maintain itself as a territory, as well as subdivide and make new space for 2 new territories. Alright, so Indiana is the mama of Michigan and Illinois. Let's put it like that. If you talk about Illinois or Michigan, Indiana is the mama. Alright? The Indians is the mama. Alright? So, this is gonna get fun. This is gonna get fun. Alright? See right here. Organic Act of 1804 with territorial. So check it here. Now we know today everyone calls things New Orleans. Anytime you see the term new, it's referencing the New World, like New Mexico, New York. You know what I'm saying? Everything new representing colonization. Alright, let's get back to the screen. So now we in the territory of Orleans. Alright, there is no new. It's Orleans. Alright. The territory of Orleans, or Orleans Territory, you see what I'm saying? Land, was an organized incorporated territory of the United States that existed from October 1st, 1804 until April 30th, 1812. Because you got to understand, after it was the state, see, when it was admitted to the Union as the state of Louisiana. Alright? So Orleans, or what we call Louisiana, is really Orleans. There ain't nothing new about Orleans. Let's keep rolling down here. We're got a little bit of history here. In 1804, all of the Louisiana Purchase south of the 33rd parallel became the Orleans Territory, and the remainder became the District of Louisiana. All right, so that tells you right there that Louisiana is the child and Orleans is the moms. You heard? All right. Let's check it here. The District of Louisiana was later named the Louisiana Territory. And still later, when the Orleans Territory became the state of Louisiana, the Louisiana Territory was renamed the Missouri Territory. Ain't that some shit? So, first you have the Orleans, right? You have Orleans Territory as a landmass. Within that landmass, you make a district, and you call that district the District of Louisiana. Let's look up what District of Louisiana is, first of all. The District of Louisiana, or Louisiana District, was an official, temporary United States government designation for the portion of the Louisiana Purchase. So districts are temporary, all right? Now, and the remainder became the District of Louisiana, which was just a temporary home base, right? And was later renamed Louisiana Territory when it became more established, back to being land again, meaning they have borders. But now, let's not forget, Orleans is the moms, which birthed Louisiana. When the Orleans Territory became the state of Louisiana, the Louisiana Territory was renamed the Missouri Territory. So from Orleans, Louisiana was birthed, and from Louisiana, Missouri was birthed. Okay, so if you're talking about Missouri, you gotta talk about Louisiana, and if you're talking about Louisiana, you gotta talk about Orleans, which is misnomer today, New Orleans. Ain't nothing new about Orleans, all right? Crazy shit, right? Crazy shit. I know. Now, let's get it in. The Michigan Territory. The Territory of Michigan was an organized, incorporated territory of the United States that existed from June 30th, 1805 until January 26th, 1837, when the final extent of the territory was admitted to the Union as the state of Michigan. Okay? So, Michigan being its own territory, Michigan being its own territory. Let's look up here the state of Michigan. The Great Lakes. Name Michigan is the French form of the Ojibwa word Michigama, meaning large water or large lake. Michigan is the 10th most populous of the 50 United States. Michigan ain't really giving me much. Let's go back. I feel like I need to go back to Indiana Territory. Oh, that's why I got confused. You know why I got confused? Because Michigan came from Indiana. Right. So, now we're going to the Michigan Territory. Now, the Michigan Territory, which was its own country, lost its sovereignty when it admitted itself to the Union and became the corporate state of Michigan. Okay? Now remember, Michigan was birthed from Indiana Territory. Not the state of Indiana, from Indiana Territory. Okay? Illinois Territory, which was also birthed from Indiana. Alright? The territory of Illinois was an organized, incorporated territory. So this shows you, let me just pause you real quick. So with this understanding, right, this is what I get from this. It tells me that there were two separate phases of demarcations. One was in the form of organic, meaning organic lands were being separated and split into organic territories were being separated and split into other organic territories, meaning a country would split itself up to make other countries. That's how that happened. So you have one territory like the Indiana Territory, which will split and create an Illinois Territory and the Michigan Territory. Not a state of Michigan and not a state of Illinois, but an Illinois Territory and a Michigan Territory, meaning that they're both land, meaning that they're both their own individual countries as well. What happened on the second phase of that during the colonization period, from my understanding, is that from it being the territory, it was distorted and then revenued into the state of. So the state of, as we all know, is the corporate fictitious jurisdiction, and you know what I'm saying, and the territories are the organic lands. So just understanding that now, it's like, damn, was there really, when you talk about now 50 states, how many states were there really? Now that you understand that there was multiple territories made out of just one. This is crazy. Alright? So the territory of Illinois came into existence. Now we're talking about the country, the organic republic, part of the continental United States, came into existence on March 1st, 1809, until December 3rd, 1818. Alright, so that was what? About 9 years. That when it came into existence as a country, it was pretty much sovereign for 9 years before it became admitted into the Union. And then we gotta look at me, we can read. As it became admitted into the Union as the state of Illinois. Alright? Check it here. Territory of Oregon. The territory of Oregon was an organized incorporated territory of the United States that existed from August 14th, 1848 until February 14th, 1859. That's about 11 years, all right? When the southwestern portion of the territory was admitted to the Union as the state of Oregon, originally claimed by several countries. The region was divided between the UK and US in 1846. When established, the territory encompassed an area that included the current states of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, as well as parts of Wyoming and Montana. All right. The capital of the territory was first Oregon City, then Salem, followed briefly by Corvallis, then back to Salem, which became the state capital upon Oregon's admission into the Union. So you from Oregon, I'm in Washington State right now, so I already know that Washington State was created from Oregon. I'm sorry, Washington Territory was created from Oregon Territory before it was distorted into the state of Washington. And before that, Oregon was distorted into the state of Oregon. All right, but so understanding the territory, Oregon is what we know as Oregon today, Washington, Idaho, parts of Wyoming and Montana. So now when you think about Oregon for real, you gotta take Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana into consideration, because all of that encompasses Oregon. And to be very exact, it's talking about parts of Wyoming and Montana, not all of Wyoming and Montana, meaning that parts of Wyoming and Montana then must have been parts of another territory before it got split. You see what I'm saying? It's just like cells. You know what I mean? They hit and they split, and they grow and they populate. It's the same thing. You got one cell, and from that one cell, you're just splitting. All right? You're just splitting. Utah territory. The territory of Utah existed from September 9th, 1850 until January 4th, 1896, when the final extent of the territory was admitted into the Union as the state of Utah. Don't that make so much sense? Like, man. The territory was organized by an organic act of Congress in 1850. Remember, 1850 was also the compromise. The compromise. On the same day that the state of California was admitted to the Union, right, the state of, not California territory, and the New Mexico territory was added for the southern portion of the New Mexican land. The creation of the territory was part of the Compromise of 1850 that sought to preserve the balance of power between slave and free states, with the exception of a small area around the headwaters of the Colorado River in present-day Colorado. The United States had acquired all the land of the territory from Mexico with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848. So for all y'all that don't understand or be hitting on our Mexican brothers and sisters, they got a treaty. All right. Now, the creation of the Utah Territory was partially the result of the petition sent by the Mormon pioneers who had settled in the valley of the Great Salt Lake, starting in 1847. The Mormons, under the leadership of Brigham Young, had petitioned Congress for entry into the Union as the state of Deseret, with its capital as Salt Lake City, and with proposed borders that encompassed the entire Great Basin and the watershed of the Colorado River, including all or part of 9 current U.S. states. The Mormon settlers had drafted a state constitution in 1849, and Deseret had become the de facto government of the Great Britain. De facto government in the Great Britain by the time of the creation of the Utah Territory. So pretty much what it's saying here is that the Utah Territory came out of what we call Mexico. All right. Remember, this is between Mexico and the United States. So if you're talking about Colorado, if you're talking about California, if you're talking about Utah, if you're talking about so-called New Mexico, you know how we feel about the news now, right? The news ain't truths. So all that is part of Mexico. So if you're in Colorado territory, you still in Mexico. If you in Utah territory, you in Mexico. If you in Arizona territory, you in Mexico. There is no division. It only exists in the mind. Only exists in the mind. Look at this. New Mexico territory. So the New Mexico territory was pretty much free from 1850 until 1912, when the remaining extent of the territory was admitted to the Union as the state of Mexico. Okay? See? The Compromise of 1850 put an end to the push for immediate New Mexico statehood. Approved by the United States Congress in September 1850, this legislation provided for the establishment of New Mexico Territory and Utah Territory, and also firmly established the dispute western boundary of Texas. So what that tell you thereby is, from that compromise, right, a part of Mexico was taken and Utah was made from there. Okay? Now what's the context? Check it. In 1846, during the Mexican-American War, the U.S. Provisional Government of New Mexico was established. Territorial boundaries were somewhat ambiguous after the Mexican Republic formally ceded the region to the USA in 1848. The temporary wartime military government persisted until September 9, 1850. Earlier in the year, a bid for New Mexico statehood was underway under a proposed state constitution prohibiting slavery. The request was approved at the same time that the Utah Territory was created to the north. The proposed state boundaries were to extend as far east as the 100th meridian west and as far north as the Arkansas River, thus encompassing the present-day Texas and Oklahoma panhandles and parts of present-day Kansas, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona, as well as most of present-day New Mexico. Texas raised great opposition to this plan, as it claimed much of the same territory, although it did not control these lands. In addition, slaveholders worried about not being able to expand slavery to the west of their current slave states. So bam. Now let's do this again here, right? Mexico Territory. From Mexico Territory, you got Utah Territory. Okay? Utah Territory extends west all the way to the Arkansas River, thus encompassing Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. So all that's part of Mexico, including New Mexico. All right. So now when you talk about Mexico, you can't talk about Mexico without including Utah, without including Arkansas, without including Texas, without including Oklahoma, without including Kansas, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. Because Mexico got a lot of children. Don't forget about the mama. Check this out, Kansas Territory. I'm hoping you guys are catching the drift. All right? The drift on how this is being done here. Because this is crazy. The territory of Kansas existed from May 30th, 1854 until January 29th, 1861. Until, as we all know, it was admitted into the Union. A lot of bad things happened when you were admitted into the Union, man. I think we were better off just sticking as territories. Kansas Territory was established by the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The Kansas-Nebraska Act became a law on May 30th, 1854, establishing the Nebraska Territory and Kansas Territory. The most momentous provision of the act in effect repealed the Missouri Compromise of 1820 and allowed the settlers of Kansas Territory to determine by popular sovereignty whether Kansas would be a free state or a slave state. The act contained 37 sections. The provisions relating to Kansas Territory were embodied in the last 18 sections. Section 19 defines the boundaries of the territory, gives it the name of Kansas, and prescribes that when admitted as a state or states, the said territory or any portion of the same shall be received into the Union with or without slavery, as their constitution may prescribe at the time of their admission. It further provides for its future division into 2 or more territories, and the attaching of any portion thereof of any other state or territory, and for the holding inviolable the rights of all Indian tribes until such time as they shall be extinguished by treaty. So, the territory extended from the Missouri border west to the summit of the Rocky Mountains, and from the 37th parallel north to the 40th parallel north. Much of the eastern region of what is now the state of Colorado was part of Kansas Territory. The territory of Colorado was created to govern this western region of the former Kansas Territory. Okay? So from Mexico, right? So from Mexico, Kansas was created, because Kansas is a child of Mexico, or Mexico. So from Mexico, Kansas was born, and then from Kansas, Colorado was born. Make sense? So you're talking about Colorado being the great-grandchild, all right? Kansas being the mother. Kansas being the mother. So Colorado's the child, Kansas the mother, and Mexico's the grandmother. And Mexico had many kids besides just Kansas. So just out of that, you know what I'm saying? From Kansas, who was created from Mexico, boom, all right? Colorado was made. So, let's go to Nebraska territory. The territory of Nebraska was an organized incorporated territory. It existed from May 30th, 1854 until March 1st, 1867. The Nebraska Territory was created by the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The territorial capital was Omaha. The territory encompassed areas of what is today Nebraska, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, and Montana. Okay? The reason why Nebraska also encompasses parts of Colorado is because they both, Nebraska and Kansas are both children of Mexico. All right, so why wouldn't they share or have some ties or some common ties between them with particular land masses, because they all coming from the same place, right? So now when you talk about Nebraska, you can't talk about Nebraska without including Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, and Montana. All that's part of Nebraska. Now, I'm gonna leave that as that. I didn't want to go too deep into that. I just wanted to give you guys a clue, but you guys can go back and, you know, read that on your own time. So let me just check in real quick, see how we the cast is looking. I'm just gonna see real quick. Okay, good. Everything looking straight. Awesome. Peace, Brother Ray. Brother Clark, peace. Peace and peace. Peace to y'all both. Islam, Kings. Islam. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. You get this information. So, good. Everything is cool on that end. All right, we're gonna keep it pushing. Oh, you know what? Well, why not just do this? I can always just do that too. Just put that link right up in there. Bam. That's in there. So, yeah, have a look at that. All right. Also, because these are all the links that I'm using, so I'm just gonna put them in here. That way, you guys can check that out on your own time, or wherever else pops into here. So, perfect. Alright. So now that we're done with that, right, understanding that all the states came from different places, so it's up to you to understand what came from what. Ooh, you know, hold on. I never really looked up Hawaii. Let me see Hawaii. The territory of Hawaii, or Hawaii Territory, was an organized corporate state. It existed from August 12, 1898 until August 21st, 1959, when the territory was made to the Union as the 50th. Yeah. code to Staten Island. All right. I guess the story of Hawaii is going to be delivered in one of these things here. But we'll put that to rest. All right, y'all can look at that on your own side. So now, understanding that the bankruptcy of the United States. All right, this is what we need to get an understanding of right here. United States Congressional Record, March 7th, 1993, volume 33, page H-1303. All right. Speaker James Trafficant. So, I can make this a little bigger. It should be all right. So, Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. In Chapter 11. What's a Chapter 11? Let's look up a Chapter 11. Chapter 11, whoa, Chapter Bankruptcy. Chapter 11, Bankruptcy. Let's see here. This chapter of the Bankruptcy Code generally provides for reorganization, usually involving a corporation or partnership. A Chapter 11 debtor usually proposes a plan of reorganization to keep its business alive and pay creditors over time. People in business or individuals can also seek relief in Chapter 11. So in Chapter 11, the debtor proposes a plan of reorganization to keep its business alive and pay the creditors over time. Meaning that, hey man, I ain't gonna be able to pay these taxes on time, so let's work on, let me reorganize everything, that way I can buy myself more time, keep my business continuing to run, and I can still pay you over time. Now who's the creditors? You open them, no. Nope, actually no, go back. Creditors. Who's creditors? Who's creditors? Who are the creditors? Because only debtors go into bankruptcy. That's telling me. A person or company to whom money is owed. Creditor. A person or company to whom money is owed. Let's look up creditor in Black's Law to be very precise. Black's Law Dictionary. Creditor. A person to whom a debt is owing by another person called a debtor. Foregoing is the strict legal sense of the term, but in a wider sense, it means one who has a legal right to demand and recover from another a sum of money on any account whatever, and hence may include the owner of any right of action against another, whether arising on contract or for a tort, a penalty, or a forfeiture. A creditor is called a simple contract creditor, a specialty creditor, a bond creditor, or otherwise according to the nature of the obligation giving rise to the debt. So, let's go back here, all right? Mr. Speaker, we are now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees. Do y'all comprehend now why I always talk about trust law? Why I always talk about you need to have your trust in place. You need to have a trust. Because the only time you're going to be dealing with trustees is if there's a trust in place. Let's look up just to be very certain. We're gonna be very clear. We're gonna be extremely clear. I'm on it, fam. We're gonna be clear today. We're gonna find out. So we know what a creditor is. Trustee. This is super clear. Airtight. What is trustee? The person appointed or required by law to execute a trust, one in whom an estate, interest, or power is vested under an express or implied agreement to administer or exercise it for the benefit or to the use of another. Trustee is also used in a wide and perhaps inaccurate sense to denote that a person has the duty of carrying out a transaction in which lie and another person are interested in such manner as will be the most for the benefit of the latter, and not in such a way that he himself might be tempted for the sake of his personal advantage to neglect the interests of the other. In the sense, directors of companies are said to be trustees for the shareholders. Okay? You're still talking about business. Anytime you're talking about business, all right, if you have the CEO and then you got the CEO, he got his board of managers, those are trustees. All right? Those are trustees. So the fucked up part about it is the actual laborers, or the people who work, like you and I, who go out and work, depending on how you contract, right? You are the trustee of the trustee. You know what I'm saying? The trustee is already a position where you're in control as a trustee, but you're not the owner of things. All right, so you're still taking directive and demands from an entity or from another person. You know what I'm saying? But to be below a trustee, like a trustee's trustee, you know what I'm saying? That's like calling someone a bitch's bitch. You a bitch's bitch. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but like just to bring that down. Now, we're talking about trustees. Chapter 11. All right? What is a trust? Let's look up what is a trust. Just so we clear. What is trust? Equitable or beneficial right or title to land or other property held for the beneficiary by another person in whom resides the legal title or ownership, recognized and enforced by courts of chancery. Slide down. An obligation arising out of a confidence reposed in the trustee or representative who has the legal title to property conveyed to him, that he will faithfully apply the property according to the confidence reposed, or in other words, according to the wishes of the grantor of the trust. The grantor is the creditor. That's the creditor. The grantor is the creditor. And if you're going in a chapter 11 can only be created by a debtor. And a debtor is someone who owes someone else money. A creditor is the person whom that money is owed to. So if the United States is going in a chapter 11, bankruptcy, they're reorganizing so they can keep the fictitious business alive and running while still paying the creditors over time. Who are the creditors? Because we know who the trustees are. The trustees, members of Congress. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. The U.S. government, we are setting forth, hopefully, bring y'all back, reel y'all back in, start from the beginning right here. Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11, bankruptcy. Members of Congress are official trustees, presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history. The U.S. government, we are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. Coroner's report. You want to know what a coroner's report is? And this is speakers from the House of Representatives on the floor saying these things. Let's break down what a coroner's report is. Let's just start with coroner. Usually elected public officer who is typically not required to have a specific medical qualifications and whose principal duty is to inquire by an inquest into the cause of any death which there is reason to suppose is not due to natural causes. That's what they do in the process of an autopsy. That's a coroner's report. You're finding out what was the cause of death. So now what they're saying is, or what House Speaker Mr. James Traficant, Representative Mr. James Traficant from Ohio, is speaking, that this is going to be the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved Sorry, y'all. All right. It is a fact, right here. It is a fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9th, 1933. 48 Stat 1 Public Law 89-719. Declared by President Roosevelt being bankrupt and insolvent, HJR 192, 73rd Congress, in session, June 5th, 1933, joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolved the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental offices, officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. That shit exists only in your mind, player. That shit exists only in your mind, player. So if you say you're a United States citizen, it's in your mind, player. Because it's been dissolved since 1933, player. Because they took the gold out of circulation, player. Only way to be a sovereign country is you gotta have money. What's considered money? Gold and silver, player. Alright? We playing Monopoly. We're playing Monopoly. So, the United States is bankrupt. It's insolvent. The trustees are in owing. They have a debt that's owed to the creditors. Who are the creditors? The one to whom the money is owed. Whose finances are they using as they're operating? The people. They're using the people's finances. So the people's finances, the people are the creditors. Okay? The people are the creditors. Now, I'm going to make this very clear. Right? We're going to figure out. So, aren't we the people? We're going to find out real quick. Real quick. Real quick. I done pulled this form out times. Real quick. Now, the American people, okay, are the creditors. No doubt about that. However, you got to be part of people. Why? So why aren't blacks and Africans considered creditors? Wouldn't we be considered predators then, as blacks and African Americans? Hell no. I'm gonna show you why. Show you why, real quick. You see right here? You see right here? Matter of fact, before we even get here, we just keep your mind here. All right, we're gonna focus. We're gonna come back to here. All right, we're gonna start at white. All right, we're gonna start at white because I want to show you the foolery and understanding that all this shit is a figment of your mind. So if your mind ain't right, you ain't gonna do none of this shit right. What does it mean to be white? To identify as white, what does that mean? What are you saying? What you're saying is you are a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Just so y'all know, the Middle East is the middle of Africa. So what they're really saying is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, which you know by studies that the original people of Europe were Moors as well. Original peoples of Europe, the middle of Africa, I should just say Africa here, or North Africa, are considered white. That shit ain't got nothing to do with skin. It's in your brain. But I want you to peep. A person having origins in any of the original peoples. Because the people are the creditors. The American people are the creditors of the United States. Bankrupt ass. Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, yada yada. We're going to skip black. We're going to go to Asian. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast, yada yada. American Indian. A person having origins in any of the original peoples. Peoples. You see here? People. This, all right, black African American. A person having origins in any of the black racial social groups of Africa. Where are the people? There's no people. So when you identify as black African American, you don't have any origins in any people. Right? You don't have no origins in any people. Which automatically puts you or disqualifies you from being a creditor. You can't be no creditor because you're not people. How could you be a creditor if you're not one of the people? The people are the one financing everything. So if you don't identify yourself as people, how could you possibly be a secure party creditor? Comprehend that. Comprehend that now. That means that the people, and people have titles of nobility and nationalities because they come from a nation. They don't just come from a piece of paper. They come from a bloodline, a history, solid facts. All right, the womb. We all come from the womb, man. This shit is deep. How you gonna say I'm black African American? What you saying is you ain't got no mama, nigga. Do you know what I am telling the world when I demonstrate? You know what I'm saying? Who I am. This is a representation of the umbilical cord. Okay? This is the womb right here. You understand? The belly button. This is the belly button at the top. And from the belly button, you got the umbilical cord. Alright? And then from the umbilical cord, you got the earth right here. That's what this globe is. The earth. I'm trying to do this right. This is the earth right here. Alright? This globe. And then you got 360 degrees. 360 tassels. Representing the 360 degrees of sun rays that be hitting the earth. Knowledge. Alright? So what I'm saying is when you show a culture, when you demonstrate your culture, what you are saying in a very simple form is, I got a mama. I have a mother. I came from a mother. I came from a womb. I came from a people. If you identify as black African American, you don't have no ties. You ain't got no mama. You a test tube baby. They cultivated your ass in the fields and shit. Just like in the Matrix, in the machine world. They cultivated you in a tube and they just use you like a battery. Alright? So now, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's not digress. Okay? So the United States exists in name only. It's bankrupt. It is bankrupt. And Not only is it bankrupt, it exists in name only. It's completely insolvent, meaning they have no money. This business has no money. These niggas is operating on IOUs, which we call Federal Reserve notes. There is no gold or silver. This is why it's crucial for us as people to start gathering gold and silver. Where's my little thing at? You know what I'm saying? It's nothing to go online and order some ounces of silver. But it's, oh man, my piece of silver is underneath that thing. I ain't even gonna do it to myself. But it's crucial. I mean, I've seen other videos where I had that silver bar. But I always got that bar with me. That's money. So when I have that with me, what I'm saying is I'm still functioning within my mindset as a creditor. Because I still in possession of money. There's no gold and silver. So the United States is in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which means they reorganized everything. The Congress, right? House of Congress is trustees of the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history. They didn't say American history. They said world history. World. The whole earth, nigga. The whole earth history. That's crazy, my nagas. That's crazy. So, understanding that once you suspend gold or silver as a form of money to be used in the society, you strip yourself of any type of sovereign authority, which is what the United States did. They stripped themselves of any sovereign authority, which means they operate in name only. Let's continue. It's deep. It's real deep. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy. Who are the receivers? The receivers. Who are the receivers? Right? The creditors. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. All United States offices, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status in name only under emergency war powers, with the constitutional republican form of government now dissolved. They are not a republican form of government. They are a democratic form of government. The receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of government for the United States. This new form of government is known as a democracy, being an established socialist communist order under a new governor for America. This act was instituted and established by transferring and or placing the office of the Secretary of the Treasury to that of the Governor of the International Monetary Fund. Public Law 94-564, page 8, section HR 13955 reads in part, the U.S. Secretary of Treasury receives no compensation for representing the United States. Gold and silver were such a powerful money during the founding of the United States of America that the founding fathers declared that only gold or silver coins can be money in America. Since gold and silver coinage were heavy and inconvenient for a lot of transactions, they were stored in banks and a claim check was issued as a money substitute. People traded their coupons as money or currency. Currency is not money. Currency would be the notes. The Federal Reserve notes are currency. It's not money, but a money substitute. Redeemable currency must promise to pay $1 equivalent in gold or silver money. Federal Reserve notes make no such promises and are not money. A Federal Reserve note is a debt obligation of the federal United States government, not money. The federal United States government and the U.S. Congress were not and have never been authorized by the Constitution for the United States of America. Constitution for the United States of America, the 1791 Constitution, to issue currency of any kind, but only lawful money, gold and silver coin. That's Article 6. They're talking about Article 6 of the Constitution. It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money and paper money substitute. I think it is extremely important that we understand the difference. We got to understand the difference, y'all. Hold on, I'll be right back. Let me put this on. I'll be right back. It's extremely important. You understand the difference. All right, so for all right, family. So this is not money. This is a money substitute. This is currency. Keep this in mind. People, see, because gold is heavy, so you know it's annoying to carry a big ass sack of gold. You know what I'm saying? So the better way of conducting that would be to store the gold in a bank and then have a coupon that states that this is how much gold is in the bank. So the person you give the coupon to or the check, they can go to that bank and then pick up the gold at any time and redeem it. People traded their coupons as money or currency. Currency is not money, but a money substitute. Currency is not money, but a money substitute. This is not money. This is not money. All right? This is not money. This is a money substitute. So, let's continue reading now. It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money and paper money substitute. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitute. One can only get deeper into debt. I'll read this again. I hope y'all can see this clip. Let me see it. Yeah, I should be more than well aware of what this thing here says on the tip here. Let me see it. Okay. This note is legal tender. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. All debts, public and private. Money substitute. Money substitute, not the money. So now, we're gonna go back. It is essential that we comprehend the distinction between real money and paper money substitute. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitute. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitute. One can only get deeper into debt. One cannot get richer. One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitutes. One can only get deeper into debt. The more we fuck with this, the deeper we get into debt. This is why the discharge is important. HJR 192. We gonna get this work, family, one way or another. So, One cannot get rich by accumulating money substitutes. One can only get deeper into debt. We the people no longer have any money. Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time. So how many of y'all fam, like, at the end of the work day, or at the end of the work week, you got paid? Did you get paid? Did you really get paid? Even me. You know what's so funny? You know what I realized? Upon making like jewelry and stuff, I sold, there was a time I sold a piece. This is one of the pieces, right? I sold a piece. I don't know what the lighting is like, but I sold a piece, right? And I sold it for, most of my pieces go for 35. These bracelets are 60, okay? But I sold a piece, I sold a ring for $35. Hold on. Pause, y'all. I gotta answer this real quick. Hello? All right, family, we back. Yeah, so I realized, right, that I sold the ring, right, and then I got the 35 notes, and then I'm sitting there. It was at the airport. I was headed to New York. I was taking a trip to New York, and I realized that it was a sister. She got something of value, and I didn't get shit back in return. You know what I'm saying? It clicked in my head, and I was like, yo, I didn't get nothing of value in return. I gave her money. She didn't give me nothing. She gave me IOUs. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not about collecting the IOUs. This is why they say you can't get rich by accumulating money substitute. You got to take the money substitute and convert it into real things. Use the notes to buy supplies so you can make things that people can actually use that have value. You see what I'm saying? So my mindset with that understanding is I do sell people money. Thank you, Tiara. That shit is real. That's her copyright thing though. She got that. So if you want to mess with that, at your own legal risk. You know what I'm saying? But so essentially what you're doing is you're selling money. This is money. So I sell people money. You understand? I sell people money, and they give me nothing in return. And it's not to be offensive, but I'm just from a money substitute to money. This right here, this is money. This is a money substitute. So I'm selling money for a money substitute, but I'm taking that very money substitute and then reflipping it to get some money or to make some money, right? To sell the money again. It's crazy. But that's how it operates. And that's when I realized, like, man, like, and so my brother, the first time I actually got paid, right? My brother bought a piece from me for an ounce of silver. That was the first time I actually got paid. You understand? First time I actually got paid. So that's real. So I got paid with money, not a money substitute. And that was a bar of silver, that very bar of silver that I walk around with. All right. So let's get back on track. Now, so now that we understand that you can't get rich by accumulating money substitutes, one can only get deeper into debt. So for all those, come back right here. So for all those people you think or look up to as celebrities and stuff like that, who you think got big bank accounts with a lot of zeros, a lot of digital zeros in their bank account, them niggas ain't rich. They deeper in debt. They're deeper in debt. The bigger their bank account is, with them notes in there, the deeper in debt they are. Oh my God, we need to go back to simple living again. Go back to nature, yo. That's where the richness is at, the land. So, we the people no longer have any money. Most Americans have not been paid. Oh, let me go back to the screen. Most Americans have not been paid any money for a very long time, perhaps not in their entire life. Now do you comprehend why do you feel broke? And I'm very blessed that I have been paid real money in my life. My children will never experience a life where they've never been paid real money in their life. All right. Now do you understand why you are bankrupt along with the rest of the country? Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, are unsigned checks written on a closed account. Unsigned checks written on a closed account. FRNs are an inflatable paper system designed to create debt through inflation, which is what? Devaluation of currency. So inflation would be, so inflation happens like, pretty much inflation happens when because you have your supply and you have your demand. We're talking about economics now, right? So when the demand is high, all right, so depending on if the demand is high and the supply is low, right? So put it like this: if I have like tons of like herbs in stock, right, and I'm selling them for $10 a pop, but it's a very limited stock. Like I don't have an infinite stock, so it's very limited. So I want to focus, and let's say the demand of that stock is very high, like people are in want of that. If I was a greedy person, naturally what I'll do is I'll increase the price, because I see that people are in need of that. There's a demand. There's a demand for that. So I need that. So all right, if you need that, then you will pay for that. So I will increase the prices. Now, if I have that same thing, stock of herbs, if there isn't a high need, a lot of people are not buying it like that, then I'll make the prices lower to make it more enticing for people to pick it up. Because if they're not interested in something, they're not going to spend money. Now, if it's cheap and it kind of tickles their fancy, they might. All right, that's what these money substitutes do. They cause inflation. So if something is in high demand, prices go up. If something is not in high demand, prices go down. This is what affects the devaluation, because this is not being measured according to gold and silver. This is not money. It's a money substitute. Right back at it. Whenever there is an increase of the supply of a money substitute in the economy, let's go back right here. FRNs are an inflatable paper system designed to create debt through inflation, devaluation of currency. Whenever there is an increase of the supply of a money substitute in the economy without a corresponding increase in the gold and silver backing, inflation occurs. So what they're saying is, there's more of these in circulation than there is of gold and silver in the account to use these to redeem that gold and silver in. This is how you know this is fake. It's not backed by anything. There's more of these in circulation than there is gold and silver in circulation. Now, inflation is an invisible form, starting from right here, y'all. Inflation is an invisible form of taxation that irresponsible governments inflict on their citizens. Inflation is an invisible form of taxation that irresponsible governments inflict on their citizens. The Federal Reserve Bank, who controls the supply and movement of FRNs, has everybody fooled. They have access to an unlimited supply of FRNs, paying only for the printing costs of what they need. FRNs are nothing more than promissory notes for U.S. Treasury securities, T-bills. They promise to pay the debt to the Federal Reserve Bank. That's all it is, a promise to pay, an IOU. You know what I'm saying? There is a fundamental difference between paying and discharging a debt. To pay a debt, you must pay with value or substance, i.e. gold, silver, barter, or a commodity. So now, if you go to court and they talk about you, or you get something in the mail talking about you owe something in Federal Reserve notes, how you gonna pay a debt with a debt? Federal Reserve notes is not money. It's a money substitute. So if you're gonna pay a debt, you gotta pay a debt with money. And even if it's gonna be a money substitute, it gotta be in a way where it will be like a check, where the person you give the check to, or the IOU, they can go to the bank and pick up the actual money. They give it to the clerk at the bank. Here you go. I'm here to pick up, let's say, $5 in gold and silver. All right, here you go. Here's $5 in gold and silver. That's how that's supposed to work. There's supposed to be an equal amount of notes dependent on the amount of gold in those banks. But there ain't no gold in the banks, so they just print in an infinite amount of notes. It's infinite. So those notes are, so this is really no different than toilet paper. It's shit. This ain't shit. But people will sacrifice their lives. People will worship. People will sacrifice their family members for this. And this is not even the money. So what people talking about, yo, I'm about getting that money. No, my nigga, you about getting that money substitute. You about getting that money substitute. I'm about getting that money. Because the money is in my people, the land, the resources, and the talents and the gifts they bring to the table. That is money. There's people over there screwing people with this information, trying to sell people a dream, but then they sell people a dream. They don't know what the hell they're doing, either, or they're not really living it, or they just there to scam people. So you're willing to ruin people's lives for a money substitute. You're not even doing it for the money. You know, some people be like, yo, I did it for the money. No, you did it for the money substitute. You did it for the IOU. You know what I'm saying? You put your people back in slavery over IOUs. Not even the money. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you, man. Yo, let's go. There is a fundamental difference between paying and discharging a debt. To pay a debt, you must pay with value or substance. So how am I going to pay? So I get like some traffic something in the mail, whatever, pay this and that. How am I going to pay that? How do I pay that without gold, silver? I can't pay that with this. I can't pay that with this. You understand? I can't. How? It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't pay a debt with a money substitute. That ain't backed up by money. Bottom line, money has to be present in that relationship. That's all I'm saying. Money has to be present in the relationship. Okay? So if a government isn't conducting business with gold and silver, they're not a government. So, i.e., the United States is dissolved, they're bankrupt, and they exist in name only. So now, if you think that you are a U.S. citizen, then you exist in name only too. So, go right here. With FRNs, you can only discharge a debt. So now that you understand that when you go and buy stuff in the mall, or you go and buy stuff at whatever store you go to, wherever you go, whatever you spend these notes on to buy, you are not buying anything. You are discharging a debt. You're not paying off the debt, you're discharging the debt. You cannot pay a debt with a debt currency system. It says it right here. You cannot pay a debt with a debt currency system. This ain't me saying this now, right? United States Congressional Record, March 7th, 1933, volume 33, page H-1303. This ain't me saying this. The bankruptcy of the United States. Wake up. You cannot pay a debt with a debt currency system. You cannot service a debt with a currency that has no backing in value or substance. No contract in common law is valid unless it involves an exchange of good and valuable consideration. Ain't that what we talk about? Common law all day? The law of your nation, your tradition, and your customs. Ain't that part of common law? So within common law, if there is no gold or silver or anything of equitable value exchange, there is no commonality in the law. Therefore, it is not law. All right? Unpayable debt transfers. Unpayable debt transfers power and control to the sovereign power structure that has no interest in money, law, equity, or justice because they have so much wealth already. That means they got so much wealth that their common sense or their morality is gone. This is what happens when you worship the money. You lose your soul because you no longer have any interest in law, in equity, in justice, because you have so much money. So now, what happened to us? What happened to us? We had all these great creations, we have all the land, all the structures, all the governments, all the great ancient artifacts. We got all the riches. What happened? We got so rich that we became stupid. That's what happened. We got so rich, we became stupid. All right? We lost ourselves in our wealth. That's the only way you lose wealth, when you lose yourself in it. The only way someone can lose wealth is if they lose themselves in their wealth. Because what you fail to understand is you are the wealth. So if you don't recognize that you are wealthy, then you will never be wealthy, because you are the wealth. Okay. I don't want to go too far, but so their lust is for power and control. Since the inception of central banking, they have controlled the fates of nations by removing gold and silver out of circulation. Right? The Federal Reserve System is based on the canon law and the principles of sovereignty protected in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. In fact, the international bankers used a canon law trust as their model, adding stock and naming it a joint stock trust. So now, understanding now that the United States is a joint stock trust. If it's a joint stock trust, then what do you think the stock market is? Stock. That means the so-called people who classify as non-people are considered the stock. This is why all those birth certificates on the stock market, okay, were considered booty and prize because we don't consider ourselves booty and prize to ourselves. So therefore, someone else is going to take us as their booty and prize. So either you're going to be your own booty and prize, or you're going to be someone else's booty and prize. I am my greatest prize. I ain't going to let no one else be. I ain't going to become someone else's greater prize greater than I am to myself. All right? That's lunacy. All right? So, the Federal Reserve System is a sovereign power structure separate and distinct from the federal United States government. The Federal Reserve is a maritime lender and or maritime insurance underwriter to the federal United States, operating exclusively under admiralty and maritime law. The lender or underwriter bears the risks and the maritime law compelling specific performance in paying the interest or premiums are the same. Remember now, you can't pay a debt with those notes. Assets of the debtor can be hypothecated to pledge something as a security without taking possession of it. All right? As security by the lender or underwriter, the Federal Reserve Act stipulated that the interest on the debt was to be paid in gold. There was no stipulation in the Federal Reserve Act for ever paying the principal. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear allodial title to property. So this, you see, allodial is in here, all right? Allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages until the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. So until the Federal Reserve Act came into play, before 1913, there was no such thing as mortgages. Most Americans own their home and their land clean, clear, and free of mortgages. This is a new culture that we're in right now, where we are paying rent and mortgage. It is modern. And the only reason we're paying that or discharging that is because we don't understand that we are the creditors. Oh man. Ugh. This one right here hits the check this. Hypothecated all property within the federal United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees or the stockholders held legal title. The U.S. citizen tenant franchise was registered as a beneficiary of the trust via his or her birth certificate. The U.S. citizen, meaning the corporate citizen, the fiction, the entity, the all caps entity, was registered as a beneficiary of the trust via his or her birth certificate. In 1933, the federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their subjects, the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, to the Federal Reserve System. So this is what I mean by all the people. If you classify as not having origins of people, you are the stock, you are the security. All right? In return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend the Federal United States Corporation all the credit, money substitute it needed. So now, what is credit? Credit is money substitute. Credit is the money substitute. Credit is not the money. The money is the money. Credit is not the money. The money substitute is the note, and credit is the advancement of the money substitute. It needed, like any other debtor, the federal United States government had to assign collateral and security to their creditors as a condition of the loan. So what's the security? Our birth certificates and stuff. Okay. Who's the collateral? Us. Human living beings. We are the collateral. Everything we work for, our energy is the collateral. Since the federal United States didn't have any assets, they assigned the private property of their economic slaves, the U.S. citizens, economic slaves, U.S. citizens. So U.S. citizens are economic slaves. Do you comprehend now? Do you comprehend why it's important to have your trust in place? Because either you are a free man with your trust or you are a U.S. citizen, aka economic slave, because nothing you do or work for you own as collateral. So the U.S. citizens are collateral. I'm sorry, the private property of the U.S. citizens, which would be their energy. Your energy is your private property, as collateral against the unpayable federal debt. They also pledged the unincorporated federal territories, national parks, forests, birth certificates, and nonprofit organizations as collateral against the federal debt. All has already been transferred as payment to the international bankers. It was paid already. Unwittingly, America has returned to its pre-American Revolution. Feudal roots whereby all land is held by a sovereign and the common people had no rights to hold a allodial title to property. Once again, we the people are the tenants and sharecroppers renting our own property from a sovereign in the guise of the Federal Reserve Bank. We the people have exchanged one master for another. This has been going on for over 80 years without the informed knowledge of the American people, without a voice protesting loud enough. Now it's easy to grasp why America is fundamentally bankrupt. Why don't more people own their properties outright? Why are 90% of Americans mortgaged to the hilt and have little or no assets after all debts and liabilities have been paid? Why does it feel like you are working harder and harder and getting less and less? You know why? Because the more money substitute you have, the deeper in debt you are. Okay? The deeper in debt you are. Which means that the same way back in the day where you would have a farmer, right? And you could have like 10, 15 children. The mother is at home. He goes out and works. And they can feed and take care of all the children. Nowadays, both parents gotta work. Shit, sometimes we gotta come together as a tribe and just work as one. Right? But now, it seems like we have to work harder and harder and we're getting less and less. It do feel like that. Because you don't own anything outright. We're living in a feudal system. If you're a U.S. citizen, you are considered collateral. All right? You are considered collateral. So I'm just going to tell you right now, you need to get it right. Get it right, get it tight. All right? We'll be wrapping this up real soon. We might as well finish this out. Now, right? So in return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend to the Federal United States Corporation all the credit it needed. Okay. So, just these last two and we done. Then I can close out. Why we are reaping what has been sown, and the result of our harvest is a painful bankruptcy and a foreclosure on American property, precious liberties, and a way of life. Few of our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. have dared to tell the truth. The federal United States is bankrupt. Our children will inherit this unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. That shit almost made me cry, nigga, hearing that shit. They telling us this, 1933. Our children will inherit this unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. Ain't that what happened now? License and registration. Or they send out warrants for you. You know what I'm saying? Everything is violent. Violent. Oh, I'm sorry, not violent. Everything is brutal. Because violence means to assault people with your words. That's using violence. Lying, deceiving, making things seem like what they're not. That's acts of violence. But brutality, that's tyranny. And what they're saying is, if we agree to remain as U.S. citizens, we're signing our children up to inherit the unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. I don't want that for my children, man. I don't want that for my children. Me, the cycle breaks, or the cycle stops with me. It stops with me here. All right? And you need to do the same, and it should stop with you, because this is what our children have to deal with. Look at this. Our children will inherit. What will they inherit? An unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. So not only is that unpayable, you're gonna have niggas pretty much brutalizing, or slave masters brutalizing and forcing the payment of it, and it's impossible to pay. That is what I call hell. That is hell on earth. This statement right here is hell on earth. Because we are all children of somebody. So we all done fucking suffered. Alright? America has become completely bankrupt in world leadership, financial credit, and its reputation for courage, vision, and human rights. This is an undeclared economic war. Bankruptcy and economic slavery of the most corrupt order. Wake up, America. Take back your country. Take back your country. Take back your country, aka declare your nationality. Tie yourself back to your land. Establish your foreign trust that ties you back to your empire, so that you can take back your country. All right? Let us take back the land of frogs. Let us take back Amexum. Let us take back Turtle Island. Let go. Give this shit back. Give this shit back. Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's. It is dissolved. It is bankrupt. It exists in name only. It's a figment of your imagination. Being black or African American is a figment of your imagination. All right? This is why we so broke. Or not why we broke, why we feel like we broke. We not broke. We feeling like we broke. They broke. They're bankrupt. They're insolvent. We are the creditors. You can't be no creditor if you ain't got no origins of people. You can't be no creditor if you don't have a nationality. If you don't have a free national title that ties you back to your people or your state. You gotta get up. Alright, and with that being said, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all, fam. Before we go, I'm gonna tie right back into the YouTube. Let's see what's going on up there. See if anyone got any questions or anything like that. If anyone does have any questions, shoot. Feel free to let it rip. Because I'm about to check this out real quick and close out. I was good, brother Nick. I mean, you haven't really missed much. You know what I'm saying? Once it's done rendering and everything, it'll be on the upload. So whatever if you have missed anything, you'll be able to watch it over and over again. But like, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's extremely, man. It is extremely crucial that we all not only declare our nationality, remove ourselves from United States citizenship because it is dissolvent. It doesn't exist. All right, we need to formally organize ourselves into political bodies or jural societies, which just means a tribe, another name for a tribe or a church or a trust or a temple. You know what I'm saying? And every temple is not run the same. So even though I know a lot of people are dealing with a lot of temple, I don't say temple issues, but like just people in the temple, other Moors and other nationals all over the world in their temples. Everyone runs their temple according to their own rules, and they have a right to establish their temple according to their rules. It's up to you if you wish to subjugate yourself under those type of rules. If it don't resonate with you, why you don't got to stick with it. If it don't vibe on your frequency, why are you forcing it? That's the worst thing to do. The worst thing to do is force it. So, with that being said, we have to formulate our trust. But we cannot do this in our slave names. We cannot do this without truly turning our minds back to the way of our ancestors. You can't. This is not one of those things where you can fake it till you make it. You can't fake this shit. You either know this shit or you don't. You either know who you are or you don't. You either know United States is bankrupt and dissolvent and exists in name only, or you don't. You either took the time to read or you don't. You either know that this is money or a money substitute, or you don't. If you don't, that means you're a U.S. citizen. You're considered a slave, which means you're economic slave, which means you're collateral, aka chattel property. All right, that's all that is saying. So we need to get things right, man. Read that link. That's a congressional record. I didn't say nothing. I didn't write none of those words. That's on the congressional record of the United States. They are bankrupt. The moment they took the gold, they have been bankrupt and insolvent. They have no sovereign capacity at all. All right? But yet they are still on our land because of the fact that we fail to acknowledge ourselves as the creditors. And when I say we, I mean the Aboriginal peoples. We fail to recognize that we are the creditors for the fucking largest reorganization scheme of a bankrupt entity in world history. That right there shows how rich we are. Now I understand why the prophet said, Moors, you're rich, yo. You are simply rich. If you would just understand, you are fueling the largest bankrupt entity on the planet. The only way to do that is you can't be anything other than rich to fuel the largest bankrupt entity on the planet called the United States. That's for real. So we are rich and we are funding the largest bankrupt entity on the planet. So I'm just saying, let's go back to being de jure again. And the only way to go back to being de jure is to read, man, and read with understanding. And understand that we can't own anything outright in this system unless we have our own private things in place, because it's dissolvent. This is why you can't be an American unless you are operating foreign to the United States. The United States is a company, a bankrupt company. America is not a bankrupt company. America is land. All right? So with that understanding, you know what I'm saying? We got to always be on our square. We always got to be on our 7. We always got to be right and exact. And we always got to be just to the best of our ability. So I just wanted to share that with the family today. Hopefully this information has been useful. If y'all need to contact me, reach out to me for consultation, y'all can just email me at suuneluniversity@gmail.com. That's suuneluniversity@gmail.com. I'll make sure to leave it in the link as well. I don't charge for consultations. I really genuinely just operate off of donations. So if we talk, I'm looking to build with you. So, however you feel you wish to gift or donate to me for my time and energy on building with you, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? But all that can be sent to PayPal. I'll also leave that link in the description as well. You know what I'm saying? So we have to nationality and trust. It's not just nationality anymore. It's nationality and trust. Nationality and trust. And going back to doing business with each other with our trust. And not using these as a primary source of IOUs. We don't need these anymore. We can actually trade once again in things of value. We can barter and trade things of value, things people use or things people like or need. It could be simple stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can barter $10 worth of gas to someone. Hey, next time I see you, I'll give you $10 of gas. You know what I'm saying? It's not difficult. Not difficult at all. Not difficult at all. So with that being said, fam, it's your brother Cool. Peace, Islam. Appreciate y'all reaching out to me. I like doing this. I enjoy doing this. So appreciate the fam who, all y'all who reach out to me, show me love, and let me know that the information is helpful. I appreciate it. And we just keep building from there. Holla.